Can you read too much? Do I read too much? What is too much? And can anyone read too much? It's something, a puzzle that I've been trying to figure out most of my life. And I'm doing a response video to Jack of Spreadbookjoy's video about 3 months ago that I can't stop thinking about. Hello everybody. If you haven't been here before, I'm Marilyn, aka Maya. And today I'm doing, like I said, a response video. And the title of her video was, Can You Read Too Much? Pondering the Negative Effects on Online Reading Communities. And I wanted to put my 2 cents in. This came out as a continuation of her tag, Evolution of a Reader, that I did. And I'll have my tag and also Jack's tag response down below in the comments. And like Jack, I continue evolving even after these 3 months that I've watched her video. And I thought I would respond, not because I didn't agree with what she was saying. I totally agreed with it, but I have a different perspective, being quite a bit older and having a different life experience, of course. Like Jack, this is my 4th year on Booktube, and my reading has drastically changed since I started 4 years ago. The types of books I'm reading, the way I read, everything has changed, and it's even evolved in the last year, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Now, and some of it has been for the good and some not so good. Now, Jack is a very articulate person, if you know Jack of Spreadbookjoy, and I can't promise that I'm going to be as clear, but I will promise what I lack in clarity, I make up for in TMI. So you might hear some stories that I might be telling you about what I feel about this subject. Now, even as a child, I was a voracious reader, and I was taught how to read by my mother, and even before I went to kindergarten I was reading. So there were times when I would go to the library, come back with about 4 books, usually fairy tales, and I would be alone in the house, which was a rare thing, by the way. And after reading maybe the 3rd book, because I'm a fast reader, at least then I was a fast reader. I've become less fast. But anyway, I would feel this feeling of loneliness after I finished the book. And I couldn't understand it because I loved reading. So was I reading too much? I don't think that's the whole story. I think that I know I was shy, and I felt that maybe I needed to find some friends, which wasn't hard in my neighborhood to find some friends. So I would feel this lonely feeling, and I wanted to be more social. So maybe it was that, but I don't think so. I think it had to do more with loneliness, and less with loneliness, and reading too much at one time. So in that case, maybe I'm on the you can read too much train. So, and reading was something that I was praised for as a child, because not everybody who entered kindergarten and 1st grade were readers. And I remember getting lollipops for reading. And the other children sometimes were, we would have to stand up and read, and I knew how to read. And so I was praised for that. And at the same time, and this is where the TMI comes in, I got married very young, and my husband was 19 and I was 16, which wasn't unusual in those days and in my community, which was a Latino community. So here we were, 2 young people, and he was we're Puerto Rican, and he was very outgoing, and I was maybe less so. Even though I was social, I loved to read. And one day we were having an argument, and he said to me, all you care about is reading and eating. And I was so ashamed, because it was true. And I was ashamed that those were my favorite things to do. And I tried to change. And now I realize that, hey, those are great things. Reading and eating, one of the best things in life. But of course, then I was a young girl, and I was listening to what other people were telling me. And as the years went by and I started having children and left alone in the house, I did a lot of reading. Most of my reading was nonfiction. And at that time, I don't feel I was reading too much. Reading was really helping me escape from my problems, just like reading helped me escape from my childhood traumas. So I think I wasn't reading too much, at least when I was lonely in my house, raising children. I read a lot of nonfiction, learning about life, learning about the life that what did I want to do in my life beside be married and have children? Who was I? I figured this out by books, believe it or not, and writing poetry. So Jack in her video mentioned a book that I'll have here. It's called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. And first of all, I took this book right out of my library. I ordered it because it sounds like a wonderful book. And the first point that Jack meant that hit me was that we have a finite amount of time and in life, and we have to decide how we're going to spend that time. She said that she's reached an age where she's beginning to notice that, because, well, to me, she's a very young woman, but she's noticing that friends of her parents maybe are passing away, maybe friends of parents are getting ill, and she's noticing, wow, we're not going to live forever. We get to that point sometime in our life, or some of us do. So how do we want to spend our time? So I remember being 45 when my mother passed away, and I'll be 74 in 2 months. And I remember how I felt during that time. And my weeks are much less than 4,000 right now. And, well, we don't know when we're going to die, of course. Our time is finite, and it's also unknown. But I noticed in the past year that my energy has been flagging, and I'm not able to do as much as I was able to do even 4 years ago, maybe even a year and a half ago. And this made me think, when I was watching Jack's video for maybe the third or fourth time, that Jack said you can do everything, you can do anything, well, but you can't do everything. And I always associated that saying with money, because I always had a budget, a very small amount of money. And I always said, okay, what do I need that are my necessities in life? And what am I going to do for my mental health, for things that I really want to spend my money on? And it always was a book, a bag of potato chips. I liked potato chips at that time. So those were things that I did for my mental health. But I never thought of it as time. So time is also something we have to spend, and we have to be judicious about. How do we want to spend our time? Are we going to watch TV with all our spare time? Or maybe we're so tired we just scroll on YouTube. And I've been doing that too much this past year because I'm tired. I have to manage my house. I have to manage money still yet after so many years. But now I'm thinking, thanks to Jack's video, that I never thought of like time as a commodity, but I'm thinking of what have I given up for reading or for booktube? And, you know, I could say I gave up writing, I gave up dancing, I gave up a lot of things, but actually, have I really? Now, let's talk about the booktube community in general, and Jack's video touched upon that, how we're sometimes, it's all about numbers and book hauls, and I did a book haul, which is odd for me. I mean, not odd, but it's rare that I do a booktube. My last video was a booktube of books that I picked up in Canada. And I only buy books when I go traveling because we're so limited here on bookstores, and even we're limited on used bookstores. There's maybe one used bookstore, and I use my library sales to when I do hauls, which is perfectly fine. But I never do numbers. I always say I'm bad at math, but that's not really the problem. It's that I've always had to budget my money, and that's math. And I don't want to budget my reading. So on Goodreads, I've noticed that my first year, my goal was 200 books, and I read 200 books. But it was really hard, and I tried to do all the events that BookTube has, and I found that I wasn't enjoying all the books I was reading, because a lot of the books were books that were part of events, and they weren't really tailored to my reading style and the kind of books that I like to read. Now in my 4th year, I do have a lot of books. My bookcase is much fuller than it was 4 years ago, but I'm reading books that I really like to read for the most part. I don't do too many DNFs, especially on books that I buy, because of money too, but also because I know what my taste is already, like I said. I have some things to say about BookTube. When I scroll through BookTube, I see people talking about the 34, 35 books that they read each month. And that's fine for them if they're really enjoying those 35, 40, whatever it is, books that they're reading, and they're really getting pleasure out of that, as well as just doing it for or not just doing it for BookTube. And I'm not going to make any value judgments on anybody. I don't know who's doing what for what, and I assume that most people really that are on this venue, BookTube, they really love reading, as I do. And whether you read slow, you read fast, the main thing, and Jack was talking about not really savoring the books that she was reading lately before she made the video. Now it's changing, and I found that that was happening to me too. And I think that you can read too much if you're doing it for the wrong reasons and if you're not enjoying it. So there are other things I plan to do beside BookTube. I want to adopt another dog. We had 4 dogs, and I think I'm going to be ready soon to adopt a new dog, and I want to spend time with that dog. And I want to go on walks and continue my health journey, because this past few years I've had a lot of health issues, and I want to keep up my health so I can keep on doing things like BookTube. And I went to Canada, so I want to keep on traveling. And yes, I want to keep on reading, because reading will always be one of my greatest loves in life. And I want to keep on doing that. So, am I reading too much? I don't think I'm reading too much. I think I'm reading just enough. And I think that I'm aware enough about my mental health, and we just recently did last month Mental Health May. So books are a cure of a type for my mental illness, for my anxiety disorder, as I'm sure that it's helped so many people with different kinds of health issues. You know, and I've taken steps to slow down my reading by cutting down my 200 books to 50. I've already read 50 books this year, and we're only in June, but I'm doing it at a slower pace. I'm not rushing. Some books go faster than others, as you know. And I'm also not going to overextend myself with events. And I don't think I've done that. Except the first year when I was really overextending. I know that I want to do Caribathon next month in a small way, some books for Pride Month. But I'm not getting overextended. I'm going to use a lot of the books that are on my shelves. And, you know, I heard people who were counting books that they read in their life. And I said, I must have read thousands of books, but I never, ever wrote down in a notebook how many books I read. And I don't think I'm that person. I want to write other things in notebooks, more of a reading. And I know that my life is finite. Maybe I'm just figuring it out. But I want to do things, including Booktube, that's going to make me happy during these, you know, how many years I have left. And I want to continue to evolve as a person and as a reader. And I thank Booktube for giving me so many new ways of evolving, of reading translated fiction, of learning about Canadian fiction, which sometimes is translated into French, that I've been reading. And I want to thank Jack. She's a wonderful person. Please, her channel will be below, spreadbookjoy. She's a wonderful person, a wonderful friend, and her videos get me thinking. And I hope I have expressed what I wanted to express about am I reading too much? So, about the negative effects of online reading, I think that the one thing that I want to change is I want to stop scrolling on YouTube as much, especially on non-book things. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot on Booktube that interests me, but I want to really get more involved with the people that I enjoy on Booktube and try to grow their channels, and try to not only try to grow their channels, grow my channel, but just make friends, because that's the reason I was very socially isolated, I think. And I want to make friends, and I have made so many friends. So I will end this here. Sorry for the rambling. Like I said, clarity is not my strong point, and I hope you enjoyed some of what I've said. And until my next video, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again soon. Please subscribe, like, and comment. And as always, on this beautiful sunny, for once, aloha day, hang loose. Aloha.